Oh. But yes, thank you very much, Ardeen and Franca, not only for organizing and hosting us, but presenting us with this wonderful opportunity to discuss what can be a very light topic, but something that I'm sure is dear, dear, dear to all our hearts. And I'd like to open by just introducing our participants this afternoon. We have Natacha Jones. Natacha is a mother, broadcaster, and a total empath. Yes? Total empath. Nikki Crosby. Nikki is a comedian, actress, radio personality, motivational speaker, and an activist for children's rights. So Nikki Crosby. A man who works behind the scenes in many regards, Valmiki Maharaj. Val is a creative that uses Carnival as his medium to communicate, explore, and celebrate us and Trinidad culture. He's an innovator who reflects on the past as an old friend whilst walking into the future.
Yeah.
All of that. Very nice. So where do we start? I mean, when you say you're a hugger.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
That was my culture, my family culture. Growing up as a child, it was out of respect. Anybody that was older than you, once I came into the home, you had to hug them and greet them, all the aunties and uncles, and you had to kiss them. So when they suggested this topic, I was confused. I never thought about it, but it's a real interest because it's ingrained deep.
Did you hear the Prime Minister's statement last week?
About the...
He said, when we relax the restrictions on the 22nd, and you see each other for the first time after a long while, I don't want any hugging and kissing in it.
Yeah.
He explicitly said.
He was talking about me.
He explicitly said,
No, it's me and him. Said, dear Nikki.
But he knows that that's a cultural expression. We hug and we kiss and we auntie and we uncle. And now it's the rubbing of the elbows. I mean, I've seen people actually create these hug vacuums where you put your arms through these things and you hug your grandparents and stuff. They've created these screens with these arms that you can actually hug because less of the endorphins. Hugging is a part.
It's
a
universal.
Part of our connection, interpersonal connection.
One of the things I love about my husband, he gives the best hugs, and I think that's what keeps the marriage together. You know what I mean? It's not just the sex, and it's the intimate things like hugs.
So you're married and having sex?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's already loving moms. As a phenomenon these days.
Yeah. My people are not here.
You know, so that for me, I mean, there's nothing like a good hug. As you say, the endorphins or we need it.
Oxytocin, I think, is that.
Oxytocin
Is what it reveals. There are said to be health benefits, and the doctor even suggested that if you hug for 21 seconds at least, 25 days in a row, you will see benefits in terms of your brain regenerating and stuff like that. You say your husband is the best hugger. That's a great compliment to me too that I get all the time. They're like, oh, he's such a teddy bear. His hugs are so good. So what now? I mean, but, you know, and I say
they want to take away your title.
You know what I mean? You know, but I'm posing the question to us in terms of how seriously we respond to the institutional voices that dictate these things. Because this comes from as high as an Anthony Fauci, that handshakes may be a thing of the past.
Right.
The new normal dictates that we really have to consider social distancing as the new normal. So, I mean, how serious are you willing to take that?
Well, I'm guilty. I hug everybody when I
should be girl. But when we look at the...
Okay, do you think it's because we're in Trinidad? If you were in New York, if you happen to go to London, say in the coming months or in the coming weeks, do you think you would still
possibly not.
First, I'm not going to London in the next couple of weeks.
But it's also very cultural too, and also the context in which the hug is happening. Is it a hug or is it a greeting? Because in all these Asian cultures, you have namaste, you have bowing. I remember in my ashram in Trinidad that when you walk into spaces and no touch type of situation, you know, it's not a hug or kiss or whatever like that. It's more
culture.
So I think culture is a big part of it. I think the context in which the hug is being used, if it is in terms of greeting, if it is in terms of comfort, it's more difficult for me to say that, okay, I'm going to stand up here and tell you, there, and not touch you and not hug, as I was saying before about the science and the chemistry effect, and about the energy. I remember, don't laugh at me. Years ago, I was a big Oprah fan. Still am a big Oprah fan.
Me too.
So I'm watching Oprah every evening, and Oprah said, when you hug somebody, you must hug them for a period of time, like a long period. She said, hold them and feel them and let them feel your energy. So
Yeah.
she said, your energy going into them, and she's going to be surprised at what it's doing.
Not this little part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't let it be a superficial hug. And I remember she made everybody in her audience hug everybody. And later in the day, it happened again. By the end of the show, that's how you feel. I mean, of course, you're on national television in America, so you're involved and I'm still feeling the same way.
Yeah.
But still, it's something that I have experienced too, where sometimes when you interact with somebody, you have no explanation fit, but at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, you just feel so much better.
So I think for me, COVID has brought a new, as I say, a new norm, and it made me a little more circumspect as to what is a hug. I mean, a hug is sharing affection, sharing love, sharing connection in that interpersonal connection, and you'll discover that there are other ways that we can do that.
Yes.
I mean, we first started with the whole, being in the in lockdown with cooking. We started to cook. That was like,
Did
to
you make
me,
doubles?
we made doubles. The
No,
apple
I
pie.
refuse to make
to me,
doubles.
That was
No.
the comfort. That sort of
I do
felt
that
as though it
too.
was a hug. Then you Zoom call your family, and you're
Yes.
all there drinking your alcohol, eating your doubles. And then you realize, okay, this seems a little kind of, it's self-destructive. What are the other ways that we can connect? And this morning, my son spent the night by me last night, and I got up this morning, and I knew that he and his girlfriend got in really late. I was leaving for work at 10 o'clock, so I prepared a nice breakfast, and I left it there, and I'm driving on and saying, but Natacha, you're a real ass. You're leaving a 26-year-old man breakfast. But that to me was like a hug.
Right.
That was my connection
Different
with
form of
saying, I
expression.
love you. And I couldn't be there to hug you this morning before I left, but I left you something. And he really appreciated it. So I think we're finding new creative ways to express our love and affection with others.
And that I think should be noted, in that the intention of a hug has to continue. The message of a hug has to continue regardless, because if we look at what's happening on social media now, everybody loves to do HUG and get a little emoticon.
Yeah.
So we've been getting these emoticon hugs, and they've been fine enough. But I want to feel like, because of recent experiences, my mom passed in April, in the midst, yes, and thank you, in the midst of the COVID crisis, and of course, I couldn't get hugs, one. And two, consequently, when thinking about this, made me think of a mom like a hug, something that you can't replace, but at some point, perhaps you do have to part ways.
But what did you find comfort in? When someone reached out to you, did you find comfort? How
I
did you?
did, yeah. Well, the phone calls were tremendously important. The human voice, and not just that, but the things people say. I think that one of the things that I have learned recently is that listening is very important.
Active listening.
Active listening.
Yes,
and
for
taking
sure.
value from what people say. So, that could be another level for us in terms of the physical, because we are physical beings. Perhaps we can rely more on the things we say to each other to sort of provide us with that warmth, instead of greeting someone with, hello, how are you? We could probably say, oh my God, so good to see you. I love your blouse.
It's so funny you said that. A friend of mine, just before Corona jumped out, he got diagnosed with cancer. So he had to go through those motions and stuff. And he messaged all our group of friends one day and he said, when you call me, I know you are there for me and I appreciate it, but don't ask me how we're going. Start the conversation with, tell me something positive in your life, and I will jump off from there. And here now, I sat down and I started calling crying people. Read the message, and I literally just stopped and I said, and I messaged all my other friends that way. I said, here what? Don't ask me how we're going. Tell me something positive that happened in your day, or what is happening in your day first, and then we will just jump in from there, and eventually the conversation will flow.
Cultures can change.
My thing from that is that I read somewhere that I always do that. I compliment everyone I meet, and I read somewhere that you might be the only compliment they have heard for a long time. How you touch people different ways. And that was one of the things they talked about still, in the fact that you compliment people, you uplift them in whatever way, you know. And I do it naturally, and it's not because you're trying to be fake or just doing it for doing its sake. But if I meet you honestly, oh my God, you look so awesome, and I love that blog, and just genuinely look. Exactly, yes. and I'm always like that.
But you see, the danger in Trinidad is that everybody always thinks it's a mama guy.
Yeah,
and how many times have you given a genuine compliment and somebody's like, I can remember that old talk. You might get any mama guy from you.
But Trinis don't know how to take compliments, I think.
Don't know how to take
they take a joke as a joke and they shrug it off and stuff.
But thinking about this whole hugging and feeling the endorphins and the oxytocin and all these things, I was thinking that sometimes, you know, like as a flight attendant, I used to be one, you put your mask on yourself first before attending to those in your care. So sometimes I think self-care is so important. So what I do, I don't get up too early, but 7 o'clock to me these days is early enough. Still, everybody else in the house is sleeping. You get up and you do
your
your
meditation. Should work for radio station and I get 5. Anyway, go ahead, Natacha.
A message from your sponsor. No, but getting up and doing a meditation, to me, you talk to your God, your universe, however, to me is self-care, self-love. I feel great about that. Or exercising, to me, is that. I know that people don't like to talk about it, but touching yourself, to me.
Oh, is that kind of sure? Oh, I'm here for that.
Hugging yourself, touching yourself, massaging yourself, to me is.
Yeah, that's serious,
is lets off those endorphins and oxytocin that usually you would get from a hug. So I think a lot of times too, if you are now in this new normal, you have to also provide it for yourself.
Right. Now, I will be honest, guys, I have been thinking since our dean called me and gave me this topic about this, and I will defend it. There's nothing that can replace a hug. There is absolutely nothing. That I have gone through so many different things in my life, from the highs to the lows. And a hug has been there every time, from the right for the good times, the bad times. Hugs have been there for me, and you know what I mean. And
but if you have to think of something new, though, that you have
we have to, because
if you have to put it in a context that works, then we have to try and find new things. It's the same way we were talking earlier when you were saying about entertainment. We now have to find a new way to express ourselves.
Not necessarily a replacement, but an alternative.
How do we do this?
This has forced us, no matter what part of society, be it anything and everything, everything of society has changed, and it has forced everyone to think outside the box. Don't matter, be it a hug, be it how do we serve food, whatever, we have all had to think outside the box. So this is Sterling, we've been comfortable with hugs for years. I have no complaints.
I want to read something that I want to hear your response to first, Nikki. This is from Wikipedia. It says, in the South Indian state of Kerala, a 16-year-old boy was expelled from school for hugging a girl after she won a prize at an arts competition. When the Kerala State Commission for Protection of Child Rights ordered the school to re-enroll the boy, it was challenged in the High Court. The court nullified the Commission's order and upheld the school principal's order to expel the student, saying the school principal is the institution's guardian vested with powers to take action necessary to maintain discipline and morality in the school. So while we sit here as huggers and lovers of hugs, there is a other side to hugging that could undermine its stability in culture. I mean,
again, culture, because we wouldn't be able to relate to that in Trinidad and to
but there are people
like hug. Let's talk about that. There are people who don't.
A child, or don't pinch my child, or don't come to, so because you might see a baby in the grocery, you'll be like, oh, and people like, hey.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are people who are becoming more sensitive about, especially as we talk about abuse of children too, because sometimes it starts with something as innocuous as a hug. The hug can be.
I love to hear Sterling talking innocuous. That's a word we don't use at all. The innocuous.
Something as harmless as a hug can lead to a very dangerous situation for a child or a young person.
It goes back to the sit on my lap.
Yes.
Kind of how you all grow up, come and sit on Uncle lap, and nowadays it's kind of not recommended for kids.
You don't even sit on Santa's lap anymore.
Exactly.
So there are things that we thought were ingrained in us that due to circumstances we've had to abandon, had to revisit.
A lot of the innocence of those things are gone.
Yes.
A simple hug.
Yes.
A simple hug.
Which is, I mean, it's sad because of the reasons behind it, but it reminds me of what Lost Tribe posted before Carnival with the UN concerning the culture of whining versus what is inappropriate movement, the world's version of inappropriate, because we have so many foreigners that come to Trinidad, etc. And we brought together a group of people that basically at the end of the census was the read the room concept. You know, you must be able to, yes, okay, come to us, me to have a dance or not have a dance or whatever, but be able to read that person's body language to be able to say whether they are giving
you have gone too far.
permission. And I listened to this TED talk the other day, when I bought the other day, a long time ago, because I'm trying to remember the man name, I can't remember. But he spoke about a study that broke down hugging into its parts. And the first part of the hug is opening your arms like this, and that is indicative of permission or asking for permission.
Right.
And when the other person moves in, and it reminded me of the other day, because for the first time in 3 months, I went to wax my eyebrow last week because it's open basket. And when I went, my friend, she's like, she comes towards me, and my first thing is like, oh God, and then I just stopped and I was like, same thing I did with you before.
Yeah.
Can I hug you? And she says, and when we hugged, I literally was tearing up. I mean, that was my first hug.
You tear up a lot.
Yeah.
Val and I could lie. We could so lie.
I remember Jeffrey tearing up today.
Yeah.
I think the permission thing, and maybe I am thinking also about context, as I said before.
But that's another convention that we would have lost, a man approaching a woman and saying, would you like to dance?
Yes.
You know, and again, we have to look at the fact that this would have been something that people would have thought unthinkable, say 300 years ago, that you not ask someone to dance with them. Yeah, you do just run up on a bumper.
Family, right?
But I was talking to Rudy about that on radio, and Rudy was telling me he's 30 years old and has never asked a woman to dance, and I couldn't, because that was all.
If a boy comes to them and says, "Me, I have this dance," they watch it, kind of like, "What?"
Exactly. So times have changed, and I find that so sad because that was all part of the growing up, and a boy asking you to dance, and
the anxiety. But a child born today in 30 years will say, I never gave a hug.
And I find that sad.
Oh God.
That is sad. That is really sad. I find it sad when I think of kids. How do you social distance kids when they go back to school? When you have a 5-6-year-old who haven't seen their friends in ages, how are teachers going to stop that? Say, don't touch. And that for me is heartbreaking. I've seen it happen where I was at the grocery store and I saw two friends with their mothers and they were running to each other and the mothers stopped, no! And they jumped and you could see the confusion on their face because this is their school friend and it's natural for us to greet each other and hug. And the both mothers said it at no at the same time because this was when it first came out. Everybody was like, and they stopped scared. And I was like, wow, that is what we've reached to now.
It's funny, she's talking about kids and we apply the same concept to people who are drunk. We're like, when we get them together, they start drinking, there's no way you can stop somebody from getting closer together.
That's why they're keeping the beaches closed and everything else. I was just thinking.
The Prime Minister knows us as a people.
For Nikki, you've done psychology, and I know that I've heard at least 2 families say that because of the whole can't go to school, hug your friends, that these children have actually adopted their animals, their pets, as emotional support. So you find that even though they weren't hugging their animals before or being close to their pets, they're now actually relying on their pets for that support and that comfort. And I know that you would have studied stuff like that.
you know, many times they don't think about children in crisis. And I keep emphasizing that kids have mental health issues, they go through depression, they go through all the things we go through. And many times we, as in our culture, we think, they think of the children. Of course. When you break it down about what they have experienced in the last few months in terms of no school, the whole COVID, now they're watching rioting on the screen. So a lot of their innocence is lost because you have to explain. I was talking to a friend of mine who was a 6-year-old and she said, Nikki, it's a sad day because she had to sit down and talk to her daughter about what was going on. And she just thought a lot of her innocence is lost over.
It's a hard explanation for us, fellas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have to think about kids and that comfort and what they seek and stuff. But I think about when they go back to school, how difficult that is going to be.
I want to ask again, just because I think it is important. You know, the statistics around the world aren't really flattening, right? As I say, we in Trinidad and Tobago have a very isolated sort of situation right now. Borders remain closed, we're slowly reopening and so on. But in terms of an unimaginable future, are you willing to say at this point you think the worst is over and so we can afford to take things lightly, or do you still think that we're in a period of uncertainty and should be listening to guidelines like wearing your mask, social distancing?
Oh yeah, I think we're still there.
Absolutely, because it's not as though we're not connected to the rest of the world. We're all zooming with our family and understanding what's happening outside of Trinidad and Tobago. We're very, very lucky and fortunate that we've had great guidance in how we've navigated through this. I know that tonight they're letting 140 students come in from Jamaica. There's been a cruise ship coming yesterday, and they're doing tests and checks. We have been very, very vigilant, but there are other countries like the United States that hasn't been. And we all have family there, and we all know what's going on. And I'm going to stay still vigilant in my own little nook, and also try to stay as positive and as optimistic as possible, because the world is very loud. It's been a very painful last few weeks for a lot of us, if not all of us. And I think that we all need this virtual hug. We all need to feel that we can find joy amidst all of this, that we still have to live in this moment, and we just have to give each other that love and support. And as you always say, active listening to people who are in pain. If somebody, families dying during this period of time, being there for them. The old lady upstairs who you can't really hug, but she needs you to go and do her groceries for her.
Right.
She needs you to. That to me is sharing that love, giving her that affection and attention.
Love has to be the love has to be there always, through it all.
Yes.
Love has to be the answer.
Love languages, right? Like those defined love languages. So if, for example, you were to remove touch as one of them, you still have, what is it? It's gifting, speaking, acts of kindness. And there's something else, I forgot the last one, but it's almost like you have a shift from
touching
that.
yourself.
So you move.
Then we go back to that touching yourself. So forget how you
Take away from today, touch yourself.
Oh yeah, you got hug, touch yourself. We found the solution. I think people would be happier. Got less stress,
But I really hope, I feel more confident in our country where we are right now with the closed borders, because I kind of feel like we're in a bubble.
Yeah.
And I personally feel like I probably will feel a little more afraid when the borders do start to open slowly but surely. And I've been hearing that word from our masqueraders, for example, in the conversation of if we're having a local carnival or international, whatever. And I think I really still, even at the end of this conversation, I feel more open to options as to things that we can do, but I still feel like the hug is still at the center of my heart.
Yeah.
And
it becomes something taboo, maybe you'll do it behind closed doors.
well, listen, I'm looking forward to this.
Wow.
But to come fast. I'm ready because I want to hug everybody. I'm hugging everybody.
We want to go to tribe and, we can do a little wind down next
This
year.
one saying we hugging from a side.
You might have to start doing on hazmat suits at the door.
Wow.
Right?
Full PPE.
It's
Come
really,
and fetch in full PPE.
I saw Carnival, was it in Japan? And they had like screens, and they asked people to send in pictures of them playing masquerade, and everything was. Then I saw a rave party where everybody was in a car and popping horn. I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready for that yet. The world has changed, Nikki, and you just need to. All of us just need to adapt.
Do you remember, like, even with the music, they used to have these parties where you wear the headphones with your music.
Yes.
And it didn't work because we want that interpersonal connection. We want to hear the music. We want to feel what you're feeling. We want to. It really
and
is.
given though, and I always say this, just because I believe in the power of innovation, I say if you ever bring something to the table new, and you compare it to something else, to say there's a replacement for. So let me say, for example, silent party as compared to normal party it will never work. You really need to give whatever this new thing is, either a new name or a new platform, but a belief and a confidence, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe we don't say at all that it is, oh, we're doing this instead of hugging, but it's a different idea altogether. I don't know how that applies to this, but I had so many conversations about that silent party, but that's it. It didn't work because it's a replacement. You know,
Remember how the Obamas introduced the bounce?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it
was
became
a big
almost,
thing.
and it became normal to not shake hands but to bounce.
Yes.
We would have never thought. Now, what can replace a hug? I don't know. But give it your imagination a best shot at what, in your mind, could replace a hug. I don't know.
I'm doing something for others. I've been working with an NGO, and I find going out there, packing hampers, seeing the joy that what you do is, you know, how it's been given to another person. To me, I feel so good, and there's reciprocity.
It's a magical thing.
So I always believe that there are things not that can replace a hug, but can almost, you know, you can do something of value that will make you feel happy and make other people happy.
Warms the cockles of your heart.
And we need that now. There's so many NGOs folks that you should go out there and give support. You know,
I hear you.
I find that
I call that being a good Christian.
I think it keeps your optimism. And
I didn't even know my heart had cockles.
It's a selfish act.
I love Sterling.
But Nikki, how would you envision?
For me, I guess I'm an orator. I believe in a smile. I mean, I've been thinking, you know, that's how I react to people when I see them. I give people the biggest smiles. I'm happy to see you.
With the mask on your face, you can't even see the smile.
Well, exactly.
You know
So
what I mean?
I smile. Because everybody know when I just get chinky. And also my words, I intend to be, and I've been really working on it, to have kinder words to even through comedy, you know, be kind to people, and because everybody's going through something. So that's how I live my life every day, to try and give people as much motivation as possible through whatever contact I have with them. So that's what I'm going to continue doing, just motivating and just inspiring people.
I love that. I love what both of them said. For me, I suppose in a I meet you physical situation, I believe in the power of the eyes too. Like, I've been thinking about it a lot, just visually, design-wise and everything, like the eyes, and the way that I look at somebody. If I were not able to speak, like if people are telling me I'm speaking softer when the mask is in front of my face so they can't hear me properly. So if you couldn't hear what I said, if I can't touch you, if I'm far from you, if I can't make a hamper for you, but I put this energy forward through, like I feel something for you, I don't know if it's almost like an illusion in your charging, you know.
But when they say the eye is the soul, the window to your soul.
Well, I open the window real big.
Yeah.
Right.
So we maybe see a lot through the eyes.
Yes. It's been a pleasure.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you, Sterling.
I know, it feels as good as a hug to sit here and just, you know, have such
the
fun.
cockles of my heart.
The cockles of your heart.
Cockles of my heart.
The cockles of my heart.
Well, that's what a good hug can do, right? You know? Those things that fade away as well, and maybe one day we will make fun of the huggers in the same way.
You remember when we used to do that?
Right. So when we used to hug trees.
Yes.
You pour trees in them.
Yeah.
Well, now we can hug trees when we can't hug each other.
The tree be safe.
The tree will be safe. Well, I mean, even though the animals have been getting COVID, there's no proof yet that a plant has
Yes,
right?
why? Exactly. And we can't have 4 plants now.
And they have to be what? Female?
Yes, female.
Go stay home and hug your plant. That's my solution, the whole thing.
But what about hugging your husband behind closed doors? That's a relationship of trust.
Yes.
You know if he has... Oh, no, sorry. Oh, okay, your partner. I mean, would you hug...
Well, that's Well, that's part of the thing. If he get COVID, I have to get COVID. Both of we getting COVID and going down.
Yeah, all right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for
Sterling.
joining me. Thank
you, Adi and
Franca. 2020 coming to you live from the Writers Center. Excuse me.
You want water?
Thank you, Natacha. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Val. And
thank you,
Sterling. Thank you, Trini Good Media. Yeah?
Yeah.